Hello, everybody, it's Tim here again. Here with another movie review. This time for The Black Phone. Now, this film's actually been out for a while. It's been it was in theaters for a little while, and it did do well, I believe. And it's directed by the guy. I think his name is Scott Dickerson or something like that. But I know he also directed Sinister. Sinister I really liked. Sinister 2, that wasn't very good. And just to say, from this movie, from 1 to 4 stars, it's a solid 3 out of 4. This is a good film. It is not a great movie. It has great moments. It almost ends up being a great movie by the end, though. It's just a good movie, which that's not bad. This is a good 3 out of 4 solid supernatural thriller flick. It's about this character named the Grabber who pretty much just grabs kids off the street, played by Ethan Hawke. He wears like this weird mask, almost like he's a magician or whatever. The way he dresses and stuff, and he wears like this weird like devil looking mask or whatever just to frighten the kids. You almost think he's gonna be like a child molester, but really just kind of puts them in a room and like tortures them by rigging up games and stuff to where they think they can't escape. And then when they try to, he like beats the shit out of them and throws them back in there, and eventually he kills them after a while. It's pretty much like a psychological torture game he does with the kids. Um, More like a almost like a human Freddy Krueger, really. But yeah, Ethan Hawke does a great job as the killer here. The kid in the movie who plays the boy, I don't know the actor's name, but he does. His name's Finn, I believe. He does a great job overall. The chick who played his sister though is the more interesting character, and there are some problems with this movie. Like they introduced the fact that the sister is like psychic at the beginning, and she's like able to see things, and she's like giving the police like info to the crime and all that. And at first they're like, "Well, how did you know all this?" And she has to convince them she's basically seen it in dreams. Nobody really tipped her off, and she's like telling them about stuff and everything. This movie like takes place in the '60s, and she's like telling them everything and all that. And her like eventually the Grabber like gets the boy who's like this kid who's like picked on and everything. You see him like take out a couple other kids who are coincidentally like friends of the main kid, which is that's a little bit of a coincidence. But he captures the brother, and he's pretty much got him in there, and he's trying to play the same games with him. But and he's starting to be communicating with the ghosts who basically of the victims who are like his friends and all that. Plus this like heavy metal kid or whatever who just kind of felt thrown in there. I will say this: there are certain things in this movie that feel like it's put in there a little bit to just elongate it, which is understandable because I believe this was based off a short story by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, and you can kind of tell there is some stuff in here just to kind of elongate the movie. But for the most part, the pacing is pretty good. But yeah, he's talking to these ghosts and everything. They're trying to help him out. I'll say this: like the daughter's like the sister's like psychic plotline and all that. Like she's the better actor between her and the boy, and she's the more interesting character. Like every time her brother gets beat up on by these bullies, she runs and like beats their ass with rocks and shit. Pretty cool. And like basically she's trying to help the police like rescue her brother and everything. And eventually she leads them to a house, but it turns out it's like the killer Ethan Hawke owns two houses, and the other one's where he puts the bodies after he kills the children, where he buries them in the cellar or whatever. And but that's kind of a weak ending idea like that, because you would expect like her to like, because the psychic plotline is so built up as like the secondary plot of the movie, to where she's like gonna help the police like find her brother and all that, you think. And she really doesn't. Like he escapes at the end on his own by finally manning up, because that's his character arc through the movie. Like the ghosts like eventually teach him to like man up, and it does get kind of corny when you actually see the ghost like full force at the end, and the ghost is like telling him how to fight and everything. He's like, step back, go forward with the phone, step back, go forward with the phone, fill it with dirt. It was a little corny. But when you get to the fight at the end or whatever between him and the Grabber, he's rigged up this hole for the dude, the Ethan Hawke's like character, to fall through, and he breaks his leg, and then he puts the phone cord around his neck, like beats the shit out of him with it, and breaks his neck. Him breaking his neck is a little unrealistic, but because he's a kid and he doesn't seem that strong, even with a broken leg, it feels like Ethan Hawke would still probably overpower him. But anyway, by the time you get to the end of the movie, though, you pretty much buy into it. You're sold on the movie by then, so you go with it because you really want to see this kid whoop Ethan Hawke's ass. Um, but yeah, there's some corny ghost stuff, and you see like a flashback of the heavy metal kid's death or whatever, which almost felt like thrown in just to elongate the movie. And then, like I said, the psychic girl plot line, the sister doesn't really go anywhere, even though she's the better actor between her and the brother, and the more interesting character because of how just badass she is. So that could have been completely removed, or what they actually should have done is just took the brother out and had this be like a girl story, and had her be the one that was kidnapped by the Grabber by Ethan Hawke's character. That way, it would make sense with the ghost communicating with her because she's already shown to be psychic. It would have been a bit coincidental that she is psychic, but at the same time, that would have made more sense, to be honest. And it would have made the movie play much smoother if they could have just focused on one character, I think. Um, and there's another problem with the movie is you got James Ransom, who was the cop from Sinister, who took over as like the star in Sinister 2. He's a good actor. I like this guy. He's been in the other movies by this director. And, he shows up in here, and it's like he's talking about, like, how he's trying to solve the case and all that. He's, like, snorting drugs, and he's like, "This is my brother's home," and all through the movie, they're like, they're trying to, like, it's almost like they're trying to hide it from you that, Ethan Hawke, the killer, is his brother. But if you know anything about movies, you know that's gonna be the obvious twist, and you kinda see it coming from a mile away. And later on through the movie, it's almost like you think they might throw you a curveball just because it does seem so obvious, but by the end, no, that's exactly what it is. And he opens up the door to let him when he finally finds the kid, and he just gets hit in the head by Ethan Hawke and killed. So Ethan Hawke kills his own brother, which is kind of weird that he would kill his own brother. That just kind of comes out of nowhere. Um, Instead of like trying to talk him like out down or something. I don't know. Or ask him to join him or something. Who knows? But yeah, that whole relationship was just kind of weird, and it wasn't developed at all between him and James Ransom or whatever, or Ransom, however you say his last name. But that guy's a good actor. I like him. He was good in It Chapter Two as well. But he just gets killed in like 2 seconds after he finds the kid in the bottom of the basement or whatever. It's a completely pointless role. To be honest, there's no reason for him to be in this movie. Once again, that feels like something just thrown in just to elongate the movie. And another thing is that the grabber has a very distinctive look, and he drives around this very distinctive black van. And you would think, with the way Ethan Hawke looks in this movie, and with the van he drives, you would think that, and then the police know it's a black van. You would think the dude would be pretty easy to spot because he's just traveling around the neighborhood. But for some reason, they're never able to like find this guy, the grabber. It's kind of ridiculous, even for the '60s where it takes place. But yeah, he kicks the grabber's ass, breaks his neck, and then he's manned up and he goes back to school like a hero and everything. Everybody's impressed by him, and the bullies are like afraid of him now because they think he's the ultimate badass. And he's standing up for himself now, and he ends up sitting next to the girl he has a crush on at the end. He's like, "Call me Finn" or whatever. Just like, okay, yeah. And then the movie goes off. So yeah, all around good movie, good time. It's an enjoyable film. It's a good flick for horror fans. It's not great. This movie was a little bit overhyped to me on Twitter and stuff by people saying, "Oh, it's so great, it's so great." It's not great. It has great moments, but overall, it's good. It's way better than Sinister 2. It's this director's second best film, I would say, after after Sinister. Although I remember not minding Hellraiser Inferno for the movie that it was and not really judging it as a Hellraiser film. I remember not minding that one. But yeah, this is a good solid film. There's nothing really too bad wrong with it besides what I said. Other than that, it feels a little stretched out. That's about it. 3 out of 4, solid, good film. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.